Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. One of the cool parts about collecting currency is the cost of the notes versus the rarity of the notes. Let me explain. If you had all the money in the world, you still could not put together the entire top 100 greatest notes of all time because some of them were never made public. Some of them are only in museums. Some of them don't exist anymore. And some of them are in collections where people just aren't going to sell them, regardless of price. That's the beauty of this hobby. Just because a note exists somewhere doesn't mean you're going to be able to buy it. I have notes that I don't want to sell, unless, of course, I could sell it for such a price that I know I could replace it fairly easy. And even then, how long would it take me to find that note again? It seems that with coin collecting, the biggest obstacle in collecting coins is price. But once you overcome that price hurdle, then you can have anything you want. Paper money, not so much, because paper money is rare. I have numerous notes that are one of 500 remaining. Well, 500 remaining, that means only 10 people per state can have one. That's it. So when you figure that every state has got a few thousand collectors for paper money, yeah, it doesn't matter what the price is, and it doesn't matter how much money is in my pocket. That note is still going to be tough to attain. The other thing that I like is that there are notes in every price range. So whether you have all the money in the world or whether you're cashing in change, there are still notes that are beautiful, are interesting, have historical value, that won't break the bank and still make an interesting collection. You see me go through 1,000 notes every week. Just by going through stuff from the bank, you're paying face value for that stuff. Now, yeah, you can find a solid worth thousands of dollars, but you can also find numerous things that are worth 10, 20 bucks. Finding a radar or a filled star or a minor error. So every price range has something to go for. It's just interesting because I always put myself down as far as all of collecting goes. I know I have an impressive collection, but as for me myself, I'm kind of a nobody and I don't have a whole lot of money. So that's why it's important to know that you don't need a whole lot of money to put together an impressive collection. All you need is a little bit of time and a little bit of patience. But when you find that cool note, you definitely want to be able to pick it up because you may never see it again. All right, let's slide these out of the way and take a look at what I found this week. I am still going through Vegas money. This was stuff from the strip itself. This is from the Horseshoe, the Flamingo, the Link, Harrah's, Treasure Island, Sahara, and then I've got some of the ones that are a little bit off strip, Suncoast, Rampart, Durango, and Red Rock. So let's take a look at what I found here. Starting off, this is not an error. If you look, you can see these black ink here, black ink here. I can probably take my finger and start scratching some of that off. Not a print error. You're going to see these on eBay as people saying, oh yeah, it's a print error. No, not a print error. If you look, doesn't quite match, especially up here. You can see how it's not quite right. It's more of a gray than a black. You can see through it. You can't see through the black ink here. You can see through the black ink here, but that's not really seeing through it. That's the design. Whenever you have solid black, you do not see through it. Here, you can see through it. So yeah, not an error. And this note, same thing. There's all kinds of different things that can happen to a note to give it this look. Sometimes it's just tape and that's dirt, and you can feel it with your finger. This is just a sticky substance that absorbed all the dirt, making it look black. No additional value there. That's the hard part about trying to buy errors online. You don't get to feel it. If you can feel the stickiness of it, you know it's not an error, but you'll never know that if you're just looking at a picture online. I found some trinaries, 0s, 5s, and 8s. No value on trinaries, they're just fun. 2s, 7s, and 8s. And some quads this week. Quad 1s on this one. Quad 5s with a 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, and the 5th. Quad 9s. And some stars. 2021 star note. Last year for star notes, everybody is saying that they're going to be worth a ton of money. No. Everybody is going to be trying to sell them for a ton of money. Yes. Somebody will buy them. Yes. And somebody else will show the YouTube video of the eBay sale to confirm, yes, these are selling for $20 a piece. No, they are not going to be worth anything. When you can go through straps and still find them, no. The comparison I always like to use are web notes. Web notes you can find readily in most packs. They were printed from 1988 A series all the way to the 1995 series. And even though we're talking 30 years ago, those are starting to become worth about $15. So maybe in about 30 years, today's star notes might start to be worth a little bit more. Now, if you have a short run, a short print, or an old note with a star, that's different. But you're not going to see $20, $30 for a star note tomorrow. Or at least you may see some idiot buy one for that, but that's not what they're worth. All right, here's a 2017 A star, 2017 star. Check to see if they have a filled star, because that's an error. Then we've got a 2013 star as well. And some older notes, 2003 A, 2003. Just as an example, 2003 A, I found one of them. You saw how many stars I found. Here's 2003. Here's a 2003. Here's a 2001. Shouldn't 2001 notes be worth more than all those stars I found, since I only found the two 2001s? You know. And then here's a 1995. Let's take a look at the back. Nope, nothing funny there. That's the oldest note I found, 1995. All right, so what did I pull out this week? Well, this week I pulled out a note I got pretty cheap, but I don't see them very often at all. They don't have a whole lot of value, but like I said, I don't see them. And if you don't have the opportunity to buy one, well, then what's it really worth? If you never see one of these, it's worth whatever you want to pay for it at that particular point. This is what's known as a fantasy note. This is a $100,000 Confederate States of America note, but it's a fantasy note. This note never actually existed. They used the Lucy Pickens $100 bill image, and they converted it from 100 to 100,000. You can see here, February 17th, 1864. No, this did not exist. If we look at the back, they even did the back with 100,000 there, and made it look pretty good compared to what the original looks like. I didn't pull out my original, but I do have the books. And yeah, these are interesting. I mean, if you can find these were printed in the 1950s and 1960s. That still makes them 60 to 70 years old. So you're not going to see very many of them at all. Do they have any additional value? You know, a couple bucks. You know, I think I paid $20 for this one, maybe 25, just because I never see these. I know about them. They referred to in a bunch of my books, but you never get a chance to see them. So when I saw it, I thought, all right, I'm going to scoop it up. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. First of all, here is paper money of the United States, because you guys love seeing the book. And when I look here, there is the original Lucy Pickens note. This is the 1863. There was an 1862, very similar to it. And the one that they're using here is this one, the 1864. That's the date on it right here, 1864. And it's interesting because the 1864 has this blue back, whereas the back that they used on the on the other note has this kind of back from the 1863. So yeah, they mixed the front and the back of two different years, as well as combining the giant number. You can see here it's got the C, this C note. That's 100. So yeah, they added the 100,000 there. Also, looking at the note, you know it's fake because the signature is done in the same ink as everything else. These are supposed to be hand signed if they were real. They're clearly not. When I was at the show, Central States, I brought my collecting counterfeit paper money book, and this was written by Pierre Frick. And I got to meet Pierre, and he was kind enough to autograph my book for me, so I appreciate that. When I was going through here, he does list modern facsimiles and bogus issues. And he says here, one of the most common facsimiles is the 1954 and 55 Cheerios cereal inserts. The 1861 T1 $1,000 Montgomery note was included in this group. The words reprinted in the USA 1954 are printed at the lower edge, but sometimes these words were removed or erased in an attempt to deceive purchasers. The Whitman Company also published a set of these facsimiles in the 1960s, and there were numerous lesser runs as well. On occasion, they appear on eBay, where they are offered as real, either knowingly or unknowingly. Whether or not they are said to come from granddad's or dad's estate, let the buyer beware. So he does make mention of those there. Another book that talks about them is Obsolete Paper Money from Don Kelly. What most people don't know with this obsolete book is it does cover Confederate notes. There's a whole section covering all the Confederate notes. And they do talk about fantasy notes. Showing here one of the most popular fantasy notes. There are numerous fantasy notes in the Confederate arena. The most popular fantasy notes are the female riding deer creations. They come in different colors and varieties and are widely collected and command strong prices. Some were produced during the Civil War and are legitimately considered counterfeits. Others reached the collecting scene after the war. See the Tremel reference for details. That one there, I met my friend Brian at the Central States show, and he had that note, and that was so cool to see that one. He had it graded. That one is the what do they call it? The female riding the deer note there. So that was cool. And then, of course, there's the reproductions as well. So the fantasy notes do have, a mention in the books. Do they have a price guide? No. But once again, it's something that you just don't see. Do they have any additional value? Well, I think it's neat. I think it's definitely part of the hobby. Am I holding on to this for an investment of any type? No. But I saw it and I thought it was cool. And I thought it was worth adding to my collection. So that's why I picked this one up. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.